The first night, the sea brings back a helmet we never lost. I am on watch above the black reef, Type 99 rifle across my knees. When the wave rolls in slow and quiet, like it is ashamed of making noise, the moon is a fingernail, low and crooked, painting the lagoon with a thin stripe of light. There is no wind, the palm fronds barely move. The bones of the wrecked barge jut out from the surf like broken fingers, and in the white curl of that wave, something round spins once, twice, then bumps onto the sand. A helmet, brown-green, steel glistening, chin strap trailing like a tongue. I stare down at it. My own helmet is on my head. The other men are asleep in the bunker behind me, 5 steps down the log-lined trench, snoring and muttering about rice. Our spare helmets hang on pegs next to the ammunition crates. "Hey," I whisper, as if the helmet could answer. My voice sounds wrong in the damp air, too loud and too soft at the same time. The wave drags back. The helmet stays. I climb down, boots slipping on the wet coral stones. One hand on the rope we've tied from the bunker to the shore so no one gets swept out at night. The sand under my feet is cold, almost greasy. Crabs skitter away, their legs clacking like teeth. Up close, the helmet looks ordinary. Model K90, the familiar star on the front. But sand clings to it in a strange way, not like the beach. Fine white grains stuck in the seams, as if they came from some other shore. I reach down, grip the rim. It is heavier than it should be. Water pours from inside, trailing out behind the chin strap, darkening the sand. It smells like seaweed, rust, and something sweet, like rotting flowers. From the darkness behind me, a voice says, "Kobayashi, what are you doing?" Sergeant Watanabe's silhouette fills the top of the trench, shoulders blocking the thin slice of sky. He scratches under his armpit with the muzzle of his rifle, a habit that always makes me nervous, and then ducks as a bat flits past his head. "There's a helmet," I say. Washed up, we both look at the pegs on the bunker wall behind him. 4 helmets hang there, where there should be 4. Mine makes 5. Watanabe shifts his weight, the boards creaking under him. He has a scar across his nose, a pale line that splits his face when he frowns. "We didn't lose one," he says. "I know, Sergeant. The sea just gives you weapons now." A third voice behind him, amused, nasal. Private Ito, the radio man, always awake when he should be asleep. He pushes past Watanabe bare-chested, shirt hanging open, headphones around his neck. Maybe it feels sorry for the Emperor's soldiers. "Shut up," Watanabe says, but there's no real bite in it. He drops down onto the sand beside me, boots sinking. He nudges the helmet with his toe. Another wave slides up, hisses around our ankles, then retreats. The helmet doesn't move. It sits exactly where the sea left it, line of wet sand around it like a drawn circle. "I didn't hear it come from anywhere," I say. "One moment there was nothing. Then it was in the wave." Ito squints at the water. "Maybe it came off some dead fool," he says. "Those Americans we sank last week, maybe. We have not seen a single American up close. Only black dots on the horizon where the shells come from, and silver glints in the sky when the bombers pass. But we tell ourselves we killed many. Out there in the surf we cannot see." Watanabe bends down and picks up the helmet with both hands. "Feels like a normal helmet," he says. He flips it over. Water sloshes out in a steady stream, longer than it should. It does not stop when it should. It keeps pouring, cold and clear, hissing into the sand. But the inside of the helmet does not look that wet. Watanabe's fingers tighten. A muscle jumps in his cheek. He turns and thrusts it at me. "Hang it on the wall. We'll count helmets in the morning." I take it. The steel is colder than the night air. Behind me, Ito mutters, "Ask the islanders. They'll say the sea is offended or something. They always do." He is thinking of Tabin and his cousins, the Marshallese laborers, who haul coral blocks and coconut trunks for us, who move like shadows from the main island in their outriggers, bringing fish and gossip. They talk about spirits in the sea that do not like strangers. They talk about things that come from outside and bring misfortune. mestories.org. 1. We laugh at it when the sun is high and the ammunition is dry. It feels less funny here under the slice of moon. In the morning, when the sun claws over the eastern rim of the lagoon, there are still 5 helmets on the pegs, and 1 wet circle in the sand outside, a dark ring the size of a helmet's brim, where there should be only blonde dry coral dust. We do not mention it at breakfast. We are a small outpost at the edge of a forgotten atoll. Mili, they tell us, is a nail driven into the American advance. Our islet is one of the splinters from that nail. It does not even have its own name on the maps, just a curved line and a number. From our beach, we can see the longer strip of the main island to the west, the line of the airstrip, the little dots of oil drums. Beyond that, only ocean and the promise of enemies. We are 6 men here. Sergeant Watanabe, 35 Regular Army, from Osaka, who has been in uniform since before I could grow a beard. He wears his cap at an angle when the officers aren't looking, and drinks his tea with 2 fingers raised like a noblewoman to make Corporal Tanaka laugh. Corporal Tanaka Bombardier, formerly a farmer from Nagano, broad-shouldered with thick hands as if the soil still clings to them. He keeps a lock of his wife's hair in a little paper packet inside his shirt. Takes it out only at night. Never lets anyone else touch it. Private Ito, radio operator, narrow face, chapped lips. A scar on his left wrist from where he burned himself on a soldering iron in training. He chews coconut fiber when he is nervous, turning it into strings like noodles. He calls Tokyo the center of the world, but he has never been farther than Yokohama before the war. Private Nakamura, machine gunner, barely 20, from Hokkaido, who hates the heat more than he hates the enemy. He sleeps with his weapons receiver under his arm like a lover, cleans it in the dark without looking, lips moving as he counts each piece. Private Fujita, runner and cook's helper, shortest in the squad, who pretends to be older than he is. He hums old army songs when he stirs the rice and draws tiny perfect battleships in the margins of supply lists. And me, Private First Class Shigeru Kobayashi, 2nd Rifleman, 23, from Niigata, who thought the sea meant fishing boats and cold wind and the slosh of sake in small cups. Now, it means something else. The rule in our outpost is simple. Watanabe tells it to us the first week we arrive, standing on the dune, with his hands behind his back, looking at the sea. We do not trust the water, he says. We trust the rifle, the shovel, and the wire. The sea is not our friend. It gives us nothing we can count on. He squints toward the horizon where the swell breaks on the reef. The Navy ... He shrugs. And yet we are surrounded by water. We drink what we can catch from rain, what the islanders trade us in barrels. We wash in it. We curse it when it rots our boots and grows mold on our uniforms. We listen to it all night, the endless breathing of it. The helmet shows up again on the 3rd night. The 2nd day we check every rack, every dugout, every storage crate. All helmets present. Watanabe calls the main garrison by radio and asks if anyone lost one in the surf. Ito listens, pen tapping against his teeth. The answer crackles back. No. No missing helmets reported, only missing shoes. Ito makes a joke about the sea preferring helmets because shoes smell too much. No one laughs. The 3rd night, I draw the first watch again. The sky is clear. The stars look close enough to pick with a long bamboo pole. My sweat dries on my back as the air cools. The sea makes its usual noises against the outer reef, sharp, rhythmic. I count the seconds between crests the way Nakamura taught me, the way he counts between shells when the Americans decide to practice their gunnery on the main island. The wrecked barge sits in the shallows, ribs poking up. It tried to bring us rice and mortar shells 2 weeks ago, and instead brought us a show, engines screaming, waves rising higher than they should when the storm rolled in, the hull lifting, turning, snapping like a fish. There are still torn sacks of rice floating in the lagoon, swelling and bursting like white tumors. The wave that brings the helmet is not large. It does not roar. It slides up like a hand laid flat. The helmet rolls gently from the foam and stops exactly in the dark ring, the first one left. For a moment, I genuinely think my eyes are tired, and I am seeing the memory of it. Then I see the water beating on the steel, hear the soft drip into the sand. My throat tightens. I lower my rifle and call quietly down the trench. "Sergeant." Boots scrape, nails on wood. The smell of damp blankets and sweat flows out. Watanabe comes up, helmet strap hanging loose, cigarette in the corner of his mouth, orange coal hidden by the cup of his hand, smoke curls around his fingers. "You're seeing ghosts, Kobayashi," he says, then stops. The cigarette drops from his lips into the sand. He stares at the helmet. Then he looks past me, up at the pegs. In the dim light, I can count 5 round shadows. Mine makes 6. Ito arrives next, because he is always listening for something to pull him from the monotony of static. He leans on the trench edge, hair sticking up, shirt half tucked again. He says, "You're sure someone isn't playing a joke?" "No one is that funny." Nakamura mumbles behind him. He is already awake, rifle in his hands like it grew there. We stand around the helmet in a rough circle, like villagers around a well. It looks the same as before. Same star, same faint scratch across the crown, same sand clinging to the rim, like powdered glass. Watanabe clears his throat. "Maybe the islanders." "The islanders don't have helmets," Ito says. "They have bare heads and stories." "Stories about what?" Fujita asks. He has brought his bayonet, as if that will stab whatever problem this is. We look toward the narrow strip of sand downshore, where the outrigger canoes beach at dawn, their hulls hollow, their paddles worn smooth as soap. "The ones about the sea not letting go," Nakamura says quietly. He is from Hokkaido, where the waters are cold and men drown in nets. He knows his own stories. He used to tell us about Umibozu, the sea spirits that rise from calm waters, black and bald, like monks, to smash boats and drag crews under. Wikipedia too, he would tell it with a grin, making a big shape with his arms. But that was on the transport ship, when the ocean was wide and empty and merely a route. Here, where the water is a wall around us, it sounds different. Ito snorts. "This isn't Japan," he says. "Your monk ghosts don't travel this far." Tabin said, "The dangerous spirits come from other places," I say, remembering the way the old islander's eyes narrowed when he talked about canoe wakes in the dark. "Not from here, from outside. The sea brings them." MeStories.org. One Ito shrugs. "Then maybe we've adopted one." Fujita bends and, before anyone can stop him, picks up the helmet. He holds it like a prize, water dripping down his arm. "This is good steel," he says. "Why waste it? Maybe we can trade it to the islanders for extra bananas. They love our junk." The water dripping from the helmet is not clear this time. It is darker, almost oily, and it smells faintly of rust and something metallic, like blood that has been left too long in a bowl. "Put it on the peg," Watanabe says. His voice is tight. "No one wears it. No one sells it. We keep it. We don't want the lieutenant asking why we threw away imperial property, do we?" He tries to make his voice ordinary. It comes out too fast. Fujita carries the helmet into the bunker, whistling. The rest of us stay by the water, watching the place where it lay. The sea sighs. It does not say anything we can understand. In the morning, Tabin and his cousins arrive with a string of fish, their outrigger cutting through the lagoon without sound. Tabin is older than the others, his hair silver at the temples, scars on his hands from some old accident with a canoe line. He always steps lightly on the sand, as if he expects it to shift. We trade them rice and 2 boxes of dry biscuits for the fish. Watanabe haggles over the count. Ito tries his few words of their language, and fails. The others wait, rifles slung, eyes on the horizon out of habit. As Tabin hefts the bag of rice onto his shoulder, his gaze flicks past the open door of our bunker, up to the shadowy line of helmets on the wall. His eyes narrow. The muscles in his jaw jump once. "What?" I ask, stepping closer. My Japanese sounds rough in my own ears, after months of his Marshallese words. "You see something?" He doesn't answer in Japanese. He says something in his own tongue, fast and low, to his younger cousin. The cousin replies, eyes fixed on the sand. Tabin licks his lips. When he speaks Japanese again, it is halting, but the word is clear. See, send back head, he says. He mimes, lifting something round with both hands, and setting it down. You throw, see bring. You throw, see bring. Not good, I swallow. How do you know we throw anything? He does not answer that. Maybe someone saw us. Maybe the reef sees all. He nods, toward the bunker. Head not want go, he says. Head want stay. If sea give back 3 times, you must give more. More what? Ito asks. More rice. More helmets. Does your sea take IOUs? Tabin looks at him the way you look at a child who does not yet know to fear fire. He taps his own forehead with one calloused finger, then sweeps that finger toward the ocean. Sea wants same, he says. Same head, or other head. Until happy. He shoulders the rice, and walks away without another word. His cousins follow. None of them look back. Ito laughs, though no one made a joke. Island superstitions, he says. If the sea really wants one of our heads, it can line up behind the Americans. None of us put the strange helmet on. None of us touch it, unless we must. 3 days later, the first B-24 comes. We hear it before we see it. The deep drone of engines rolling over the water like distant thunder. Ito has the radio headphones crooked over his ears, brow furrowed. He glances at us, then at the sky. Not ours, he says. Too many engines. We spill out of the bunker, helmets in place, rifles in hand. 5 helmets go on 5 heads. The 6th, the strange helmet, stays on its peg. The bomber crosses the sun like a slow-cutting blade. Sunlight flashes on aluminum belly. We track it with our eyes as it passes, as it banks, as it turns. When the first bombs fall on the main airstrip, we feel the ground kick even here. Tanaka's hand tightens on the little packet under his shirt. He does it without thinking, thumb pressing the worn paper through sweat. We watch the smoke columns rise over the main island. We watch the black specks of anti-aircraft bursts blossom uselessly in the blue. We hear the delayed thump of explosions, the rattle of collapsing structures. We are too far to do anything but watch and listen and count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nakamura counts under his breath, as if timing incoming artillery. His lips move. His knuckles are white where he grips the rim of the bunker. We are forgotten out here, Ito says. They'll shell and bomb the strip and never see us. He tries to make that sound like a blessing. It sounds more like a curse. The bombing becomes a pattern. Planes come, planes go. Sometimes we get a warning on the radio and hide in the dugout, palms over our heads, sand sifting onto our backs. Sometimes we are already outside, and we watch in the open. Sometimes the bombs hit close enough that pieces of hot metal whistle over our heads and punch into the palm trunks behind us. Once, a palm explodes into splinters and coconuts, one of which hits Fujita on the shoulder, sending him spinning into the sand. He lies there laughing hysterically, clutching the unbroken coconut to his chest like a shell. Every time, when the dust settles, the sea is still there, chewing at the reef. Every time, in the night that follows, I hear the gentle slap of a wave that sounds different from the others. The helmet appears again and again. We stop throwing it back. Instead, we try other things. Tanaka digs a hole inland, beyond the high tide line, in the shade of a cluster of pandanus trees. He works with his entrenching tool, grunting, the earth soft and full of roots. He takes the helmet in both hands, sets it in the hole like a bowl, and covers it with sand, packing it down with careful farmer's firmness. He bows once toward the sea, mutters something half Shinto, half whatever he remembers of village rituals. He presses his palm flat on the mound until his fingers tremble. Stay there, he says quietly. Stay and trouble no one. That night, after his turn on watch, he lies down on his mat, exhausted, and falls asleep without even looking at the lock of his wife's hair. I wake to his screaming. It is not fear at first. It is anger, the sound of someone whose body has been violated. We tumble over each other in the dark, rifles forgotten, blankets catching under our boots. Watanabe crashes into the lantern, sending it swinging wildly, light smearing across the low ceiling. Tanaka is on his knees in the middle of the bunker. His hands are clamped to his head. Water pours between his fingers, down his wrists, soaking his shirt, pooling in his lap. His eyes are squeezed shut. His teeth are bared. "Get it off," he shouts. "Get it off, get it off, get it off." The strange helmet is jammed onto his skull. The strap dangles, unfastened, but the rim is pressed hard against his brow. Water overflows the edge, as if someone is pouring from a bucket above him. It is cold when it splashes my bare feet. Ito grabs the rim and pulls. The metal doesn't budge. Nakamura wedges his fingers up under the back edge, grunting, shoulders straining. The veins stand out in his neck. The helmet stays. Tanaka's voice breaks. His nails scrape at his own cheeks, drawing blood. His eyes roll white. "Sergeant," I shout. Watanabe does not hesitate. He pulls his bayonet from his belt, wedges it between the helmet and Tanaka's skull like a pry bar, and levers with a shout. The helmet comes off all at once. Water bursts out in a final spill, splattering the walls. Tanaka collapses onto his side, gasping. His hair is plastered down. His scalp, when we part it, is pale but unbroken. The helmet lies upside down on the floor, water still dripping from inside. The sand stuck to its rim is not from the pandanus grove behind the bunker. It is fine and white, glittering like glass dust. It smells of deep, still water. None of us sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, the mound under the trees behind the bunker is gone. The hole is open again, smooth-sided, as if something pushed up from underneath and slid free. Tabin does not come that day, neither do his cousins. The radio crackles. Orders come through in stiff, clipped voices. We are to maintain observation of the outer reef. We are to report any enemy ships or landing craft. We are not to fire unless fired upon, to preserve ammunition. Supplies are delayed. The situation on other islands is fluid. Ito writes down each phrase with neat characters, hands steady. When he takes off the headphones, there is a faint ring of red on his skin from the pressure. "They are forgetting about us," he says, not quite smiling. "Maybe that is good. Maybe they will forget to order us to die." That afternoon, the sea is strangely calm. No swells. The lagoon looks like poured metal. Fish shoals drift just under the surface, flashing like coins. At dusk, I sit on the dune with my rifle and watch the line where the lagoon meets the sky. I do not have to wait long. The wave that brings the helmet is smaller than all the others. It barely reaches my boots, but it carries the helmet straight to the center of the dark ring in the sand, as if the sea has drawn a target and is hitting it. The helmet rolls once, then stops. Inside, the water is not clear. It is darker now, with specks of something that look like ash. I do not call anyone. I pick it up myself, fingers slipping on the wet steel, and carry it into the bunker. We try not to look at it as we eat. It hangs on its peg like a watching eye. Rice sticks to the sides of our bowls. The fish is overcooked, because Fujita keeps glancing toward the wall instead of the fire. "Maybe we should take it back to the barge," Ito says. "Put it where it came from." "We don't know it came from there," Watanabe says. "Where else?" "It smells like rust and bilge water. Everything here smells like rust and bilge water." Nakamura sets his bowl down, untasted. "You're all missing the real problem," he says. "If this is some foreign spirit, what happens when it stops being satisfied with helmets?" He looks at me, then at Tanaka, who keeps rubbing the faint groove the helmet left on his forehead, as if afraid the skin will split open there. "If it wants a head," Nakamura says quietly, "it will take one. You cannot bargain with the sea. You can bargain with gods," Tanaka mutters, half to himself. "You can bargain with ancestors. Maybe this is someone who drowned," I say, thinking of the Umibozu. The bald heads rising from calm water. The priests who died at sea, and came back as giants. Wikipedia too, or someone who never got to drown. Someone whose fate was interrupted. The next change does not come from the sea, it comes from the sky. We are woken one night by a different kind of sound. Not the deep drone of bombers, but a low hum that rises and falls, like a giant insect. Ito is already at the door, headphones around his neck, eyes wide. Boats, he says. Engines. Multiple. We scramble to our positions on the dune, hearts thudding in our chests. The darkness over the outer reef is cut by points of light, moving slowly. Silhouettes of craft, low and blunt, cross the pale line of foam. Our orders are clear. Observe, report, do not engage unless engaged. Watanabe whispers into the handset. His voice shakes only once. Enemy landing craft sighted, he says. Bearing southeast. Range approximately. He breaks off. The line goes dead in his hand. He pulls the receiver away from his ear, frowns, taps it. Ito. Ito grabs the handset, flips the switch, adjusts the tuning. Static hisses back at him, but no voice. The line is cut, he says. His mouth is dry. Or the station is gone. We look toward the main island. No signal flares. No answering searchlights. Only the dull glow of distant fires where bombs have chewed the runway. On the reef, the landing craft keep coming. Then, slowly, they begin to turn. Not toward us. Not toward the main island. They turn away, noses swinging seaward, like horses refusing a jump. The hum of their engines rises, then falters. One by one, their lights blink out. The sound lingers for a few seconds in the darkness, then stops all at once. We stare into the night. The surf rolls. The reef hisses. Did they sink? Fujita whispers. I didn't hear explosions, Nakamura says. The sky remains clear. No shells, no flares. In the silence, we hear something else. A steady clinking, like metal on stone. Soft, regular, just at the edge of hearing. It comes from the waterline below us. My skin crawls. We do not go down to the sand until dawn. When we do, we find only one new thing. The helmet sits where it always sits, in the center of the dark ring. But now there is something inside it. Tanaka bends, very carefully, and peers in. A fish lies in the bottom of the helmet. Silver, its scales dulled, its eyes cloudy. Its head is missing. The cut is clean, as if made by a very sharp blade. The body is still wet, as if it has just been pulled from the sea. We do not eat fish that day. Time begins to blur. Days marked by bombing runs and radio silence. Nights marked by the helmet's return. Once, we move it ourselves, setting it on a shelf with the mess tints. It appears back on its peg before morning, rim dripping. Another time, we leave it where the sea left it, thinking maybe if we do not touch it, it will not follow us. When we wake, it is inside the bunker, on the foot of Watanabe's mat, sand piled around it, as if the tide rolled in just for him. We grow thinner. Rice rations are cut in half. We supplement with coconuts and whatever fish we dare take from the lagoon. Fujita boils seaweed into bitter soup. The skin sags around his eyes. He still hums when he cooks, but the songs are shorter. Tanaka starts talking in his sleep. Not in Japanese, not quite. Half the words are from his mountain village. Half our island chant, phrases he picked up from Tabin. He mutters about heads underwater, about roots that drink salt. We do not see Tabin again. One afternoon, exploring the edge of the island for any sign of new driftwood, I find a fire pit behind a low dune. It is ringed with stones, blackened from long use. Someone has scattered the ashes. Mixed with the charcoal are pieces of paper, half burned. I recognize our supply forms, our radio message blanks. I also see something else. 3 small, brittle things, gray-white, curled. Fish vertebrae, I think at first. Then I see the tiny, perfect row of teeth. They are jawbones, human, very small, like a child's. When I tell Watanabe, he goes very quiet. We are on someone's altar, he says under his breath. He doesn't mean the Emperor. We start seeing shapes in the surf at night. At first, it is just the waves. Then, once, when the moon is bright, I notice that one swell moves against the others, rising when the others fall, falling when they rise. Something is under it. It comes closer to the shore without making a sound. When it reaches the shallows, it doesn't break. It stands. For a moment, against the silver path of the moon, I see a dark outline, round at the top, narrow below. A head and shoulders, impossible tall, where no man could stand. Water skims off it like oil. I blink. The outline is gone. Only the usual rush of foam, the tumble of shells. I tell no one. They are already on edge. Fujita begins to avoid the dune. He volunteers for latrine duty instead. The smell of waste is better than the sound of the sea, he says. Ito spends more time with the radio, even when there is nothing but static. He moves the dial in tiny increments, as if he can find Tokyo between the cracks. Once, he pulls off the headphones and looks at me, eyes wide. I heard something, he says. His hands shake, not code, not Japanese, not English. Something else. What did it say? I ask. He presses his palms against his ears, as if replaying it in his head. It sounded like the water under a rock, he says slowly, like when it sucks and lets go. Only there were syllables, like someone is learning to talk with a mouth that is not made for it. After that, he keeps the volume lower. Nakamura, who used to joke about Umibozu, stops talking about them. Instead, he polishes his machine gun until the barrel shines like a mirror. If something comes out of that water, he says once, through clenched teeth, I will give it more holes than a fishing net. You can't shoot water, I say. Then I'll shoot the thing that asks it to come here. He looks at me when he says that, as if I might be the one. The turning point comes on a night when there is no moon. The sky is clear, but the stars are smothered by a thin haze, as if smoke from some distant battle has spread over the world. The sea is so black, it looks like a hole where the horizon used to be. We sit in the bunker, lantern turned low, listening to the slow drip of condensation from the ceiling. The helmet hangs above the doorway, as always. No one looks at it directly. Fujita is halfway through a story about a girl from his neighborhood who could outrun any boy when the sound comes. Not from the sea this time, from the land. Footsteps, bare, on sand. They stop at the entrance of the trench. We all freeze. Watanabe reaches for his rifle. Nakamura's hand tightens on the machine gun grip. Tanaka's fingers find the packet at his chest. Ito blows out the lantern. Darkness rushes in. The only light is the thin strip of starlight at the trench entrance. A shadow blocks it. Someone stands there. A man-shaped darkness against a faint glow, taller than any of us, shoulders brushing the sides of the trench, as if the walls are too narrow for him. He does not breathe loud. He does not speak. We hear something wet drip onto the floor. Kobayashi Watanabe whispers. His voice barely moves the air. Flare. My fingers fumble with the case. I pull one out, teeth tearing the cap, mind blank. I have done this 100 times in training. I might as well be learning it now. I raise the flare gun, aim at the mouth of the trench, and pull the trigger. The flare punches out with a soft thump, hits the sand beyond the entrance, and explodes into green light. For a moment, everything is sharp. The sand, the first line of palm trunks, the bones of the wrecked barge, the trench mouth. It is empty. There is no one standing there. But the footprints are there. A line of wet prints leads from the water's edge to the entrance. They are deep, as if made by someone heavier than a man. The water that fills them is darker than it should be, almost black, and it does not glisten in the flare's light. It absorbs it. Another line of footprints leads away from the bunker, back toward the sea. They go over the dune, into the surf. As the flare sputters and dies, the helmet above our doorway begins to drip. Not water this time. A thick, dark stream, slower than water, more viscous. It splashes onto the dirt floor and pools at our feet. The smell hits us a second later. Old blood, iron and rot, and salt. Tanaka sways where he stands. "Who did it take?" he whispers. We do not answer. We count each other in the flickering dark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are all still there, for now. The next morning, one of the pegs on the wall is empty. Not the one with the strange helmet. One of our own. Nakamura's helmet is gone. He stares at the bare peg, jaw clenched. "I didn't take it," he says. "I didn't misplace it. We'll find it," Watanabe says, but there is no conviction in his voice. We find it at noon, half buried at the waterline, just where the helmet always rests. It is full of wet sand, and inside the sand is something pale and soft. Tanaka's hand shakes as he reaches in. He lifts out a clump of hair, black, short, clotted with sand. Nakamura reaches up with trembling fingers, touches his own head, then lets his hand fall. "Not mine," he says. His voice is hoarse, too soft, too short. We bury the hair under the pandanus trees, with no ceremony. We have no words for this. From that day, Nakamura refuses to sleep lying down. He props himself against the wall, machine gun across his knees, eyes on the door. His helmet, once recovered and scrubbed, never feels like it fits again. He adjusts it constantly, fingers twitching at the strap. Our world shrinks. The main island is now just a smear of smoke on the horizon. Sometimes we see flashes there at night, like lightning that forgot how to be bright. The radio brings fewer messages. Once, we catch a burst of frantic code about Quailine and heavy casualties. Then nothing. Ito stares at the handset as if he can will it back to life. We see no more landing craft, no more bombers, for a while. The Americans, perhaps, have found softer targets. Or perhaps they have not noticed that 6 men sit on a sling of sand and coral, watching the ocean. The sea, however, has not forgotten us. The helmet continues to come. Some nights, we wake to find it in a new place. On the steps of the trench, in the middle of the path to the latrine. Once, on top of the ammunition crate. Each time, there is something different inside. A fish without a head. A crab with all its legs torn off. A bird's foot, webbed in gray. The bone cleanly cut. Once, a piece of wood. I pick it up gingerly. It is a fragment of a ship's nameboard, letters carved deep. The paint is peeled and swollen, but the characters are still legible. Not Japanese, not English. The script curls and bends like waves. I show it to Ito. He runs his fingers over the grooves. "Islanders writing," he says. "Tabin's people. Maybe the name of a canoe. Maybe of something else." He throws it back into the sea. The next morning, it is on my mat, dry. I do not touch it again. Food runs lower. We draw straws for who goes out at night to check the fish traps we set in the shallows. No one wants to be the one the sea meets alone. The first time Fujita loses, he goes with his jaws set, empty basket on his back, knife at his belt. "Maybe the sea just wants a polite greeting," he says, forcing a grin. I'll bow and say good evening, then run. The darkness swallows him up by the dune. We listen to his footsteps on the sand fade. Then we hear only the usual sounds. The wash of waves, the hiss on the reef. Then, a splash. Not the usual rhythm. One single, heavy plunge. We wait. Fujita Watanabe calls softly. No answer. Nakamura stands, machine gun in his hands. "We go together," he says. We reach the shore in a tight cluster, eyes scanning. The traps bob just beyond the shallows, their floats white in the starlight. Fujita's basket lies on its side on the wet sand. One of his sandals sits beside it, the other is gone. There is no sign of him. No footprints leading away. Only a single set of prints leading in, from the bunker to the waterline. In the last print, his toes are splayed, as if he was pushing off to run. The water between the traps and the shore is smooth, no ripples. Then, as we stand there, the surface bulges. A shape rises just under the skin of the sea, round, smooth, as if something large has turned over. For a moment, I see many small, pale things tumbling there, caught in the swell. Fingers, they reach toward the air, then are pulled under. The helmet washes up with the next wave. It bumps gently against Fujita's abandoned sandal, then comes to rest in the center of the dark ring. Inside, there is nothing but water. We do not write a report about Fujita. What would we say? The war begins to forget us completely. No mail, no resupply, no new orders, beyond the last broad instruction to hold positions and resist enemy incursions to the last man. We do not know if the Americans are winning or losing. We only know that they have enough shells to throw some at us once a week, as if to remind us they exist. The helmet never misses a night. Watanabe develops a cough. At first, it is just a dry rasp, easy to laugh off. Then, it deepens. He hides the worst of it outside, leaning on the trench wall, handkerchief pressed to his mouth. One morning, I see the handkerchief. Brown flecks rust red, smears. He is losing blood from inside, somewhere. We need medicine, I say. We don't need anything, he replies. Except for the Americans to forget how to shoot. He looks at the helmet when he says it. Do you remember Lieutenant Saito on the transport? He asks suddenly. The one who said the sea cannot keep what the Emperor claims. I nod. Saito had stood on the ship's rail, pointing at the waves, boasting about naval victories. Maybe he was wrong, Watanabe says. He does not elaborate. Tanaka's hands shake now when he tries to roll cigarettes. He spills more tobacco than he uses. He spends more time staring at the sea, as if he can see his mountains, somewhere out there. I keep thinking of my wife's hair, he says once, not looking at me. How it floats in the bathwater when she leans back. How I used to pour water over her head and watch it fall around her face. He stops, swallows. I can't remember if I ever thanked her. He does not take the packet out of his shirt anymore. It is as if he is afraid the sea will smell it and reach for it. Ito keeps the radio on even when we have nothing to power it with. He cranks the generator by hand, sweating, muscles straining, for a few crackles of sound. One evening, he stops winding, shoulders sagging, and says, "Sometimes, in the static, I hear waves." "We're surrounded by waves," I say. "Not those waves," he replies. "These are inside the radio. Inside the wires. Like the sea is climbing in." We begin to notice patterns. On nights when the helmet arrives earlier, the bombing the next day is heavier. On nights when the helmet arrives late, or not at all, something else happens instead. Once, it does not come until just before dawn. We almost think we are free. Then, just as the first gray light seeps into the sky, we hear something on the reef. Voices, not islander voices. Not Japanese. A chorus of syllables, rising and falling, too slow for any human tongue. We climb the dune and lie flat, peering over it. Out beyond the reef, where the water is deep, the surface is broken by dozens of dark shapes, spaced evenly. For a moment, I think they are rocks. Then one of them moves. They are heads. Not attached to bodies we can see. They bob, rise, dip. Some are bald. Some have hair that spreads like seaweed. They move with a purpose, noses pointing toward us. The voices roll across the water. It is not singing. It is not speech. It is something between vowels, stretched and twisted. Nakamura throws up on the sand. The heads never cross the reef line. They circle there, back and forth, as if there is a boundary they cannot cross. In the center of their slow circle, something glints. A helmet, not ours, not like ours. A different shape, rounder, shallower, perhaps American, perhaps from some other war. The sea lifts it, turns it, sets it back down. The chorus swells. Then, all at once, the heads sink. The water goes calm. When we stumble back down to the bunker, shaking, the helmet is there ahead of us, on its peg, dripping. Watanabe looks at it for a long time. "We are between gods," he says finally. "Ours and theirs, in the seas." "We haven't seen any gods," Ito says bitterly. "Only shells and helmets." "Maybe that's all gods are," Nakamura mutters. "Shells and helmets and holes in men." He laughs once, a cracked sound. The end does not come as a single event. It comes as an accumulation. We lose Tanaka during a bombardment that is meant for someone else. The shells fall from high, whistling. We throw ourselves into the trench, hands over our heads. The world becomes sand and noise and pressure. One shell lands short. The blast hits the lip of the trench, sprays us with wood and coral. When the dust clears, Tanaka is lying on his back, eyes open, mouth slightly parted. For a moment, I think he is just stunned. Then I see the helmet. Or rather, I see the lack of it. His own helmet has been knocked off, lying a meter away, dented. The strange helmet sits on his chest. No one saw it move. No one put it there. Water leaks from under its rim, spreading across his shirt. His dog tags float in it, clinking softly against each other. His hands are curled near his shoulders, fingers bent, as if they reached for something and stopped. His chest does not rise. The little packet that held his wife's hair is soaked. The ink on the paper has bled into a black smear. We do not remove the helmet from his body. We carry him, as he is, to the pandanus grove and lay him in the largest hole we have dug so far. We pile sand over him. We plant a piece of driftwood at the head, with his name carved in shakily. That night, the helmet is back on its peg. Water drips onto the floor. Watanabe's cough worsens. He sleeps sitting up, back against the wall, head tilted back, mouth open. Sometimes a bubble of blood forms at the corner of his lips as he breathes, trembling with each exhale. Once, I wake to find him standing in the doorway, looking out at the sea. The helmet hangs above his head, almost touching his hair. "Kobayashi," he says, not turning. "If I step into the water and do not come back, will you tell my wife I died bravely?" I swallow. My throat feels tight. "How would I tell her, Sergeant?" I ask. "We are ghosts already." He chuckles, then coughs. The cough goes on too long. When it stops, he spits something dark into the sand. "You're right," he says. Guns, and ghosts, and helmets. He does not step into the water that night. He dies 2 days later, in the bunker, sitting up, eyes fixed on the ceiling. His last breath rattles like a wave pulling back over stones. We find the helmet in his lap. Ito covers his face with a rag. Nakamura writes his name in our logbook with careful strokes. "We are for now," Ito says. We are, at least for a few days. Then the Americans come close again. We hear the rumble of engines offshore. This time, it is not aircraft. It is something deeper, a vibration that comes through the ground. We climb the dune. On the horizon, the dark shapes of ships sit like mountains. We can see the faint line of their wakes. We can see the specks of men moving on their decks. They are too far to shoot us, but not too far to send us a message. The shells that fall that afternoon are heavier than any we have felt before. They scream in, shake the air, punch holes in the island. Palm trees are shredded. Our bunker groans. The air fills with dust and smoke and the bitter stink of explosive. One shell lands just beyond the pandanus grove. The shockwave tosses us like dolls. When I can see again, there is a hole where the graves were. The sand has been scooped out by the blast, flung into the trees. Bits of cloth, bone, and metal are mixed in the churned earth. Tanaka's driftwood marker is gone. Something else sits in the center of the crater. The helmet. It is spotless. No scratch, no dust. Water beads on its surface, though there has been no rain. Ito begins to laugh. It is not a healthy sound. "It wants us all," he says. "Wants what?" I ask. "A complete set. 6 heads, 6 helmets, 6 names to write in whatever logbook the sea keeps. Maybe it already has other sets," Nakamura says. "From other wars, other islands." The thought makes my skin crawl, but I cannot shake it. The shelling stops as suddenly as it began. The ships sit for a while, then turn and leave. We are still alive, for now. Nakamura dies on a clear, bright morning. No shells, no bombs, no enemy. He is cleaning his machine gun outside the bunker, sitting cross-legged in the sand. The helmet is on his head, the strap fastened tight. He has not taken it off in days, even to sleep. He fears, he says, that if he lets his bare skull feel the wind, something will touch it. Ito and I are in the bunker, arguing over whether the last can of meat should be opened now or saved for a special occasion neither of us can define. The radio hisses quietly with its own private sea. There is a sound from outside, not a shout, not a thump, a splash. Ito looks at me. We run. Nakamura is gone. His machine gun lies on the sand, perfectly disassembled, each piece in its proper place on the cloth. His boots sit neatly side by side. His helmet lies upside down where his feet should be. Water overflows its rim. I run to the waterline, heart pounding. For a second, I see something pale just under the surface, between the breakers. A face, eyes closed, mouth open, hair drifting. Then a wave rolls over it. When it recedes, there is nothing. Ito grips my shoulder so hard it hurts. We can't swim out there, he says. We'd drown. We're drowning here, I say. We are 3 now. Me, Ito, the helmet. We last another month. Or perhaps it is a week. Time folds. We eat what we can find. We sleep in shifts. We talk less. There is nothing new to say. One day I do not know which I wake from a shallow, sweaty sleep to silence. Not quiet. Silence. No waves. No wind. The air is heavy. The palms stand still, fronds drooping. Even the flies have stopped buzzing. Ito sits by the radio, headphones on, fingers limp. His eyes are open. Did you hear something? I ask. He does not answer. I move closer. The headphones slip off his ears as his head lolls to the side. His eyes do not move. His mouth hangs slightly open. His tongue is swollen, dry. He looks as if he has been sitting there for weeks. The helmet hangs above him. A drop of water falls from its rim onto his crown. The skin there is white, wrinkled, like the fingers of a man who has been too long in the bath. I touch his neck. No pulse. The battery has long since died. The generator is still. Yet the radio crackles, faintly, with a sound I recognize now. Waves, inside the wires. I take the headphones and put them on. The sea roars in my ears. Underneath, I hear something else. A cadence, a pattern. Names, spoken in a tongue that is not Japanese, but with our rhythm. Watanabe, Tanaka, Fujita, Nakamura, Ito. And another, not yet, said Kobayashi. I tear the headphones off and throw them against the wall. They burst into pieces, brittle as shells. The sea outside has not moved. The helmet drips. I am alone. The island feels smaller. The dunes closer. The trees shorter. The sky lower. The sea, however, feels larger. It presses in from all sides, invisible weight. I sit in the bunker and stare at the helmet. It hangs on its peg, as it has from the first day we found it. The metal is stained now, a darker brown in patches. The inside is lined with something that looks like a film of salt, crusted, glittering. I stand up. My legs shake. I take the helmet off the peg. It is heavier than it has ever been. Water sloshes inside, though I cannot see it. I carry it outside. The sky is a white sheet. The sun hides behind it. The sea is flat, stretching to the horizon like old tin. I walk down the trench, past the empty beds, the litter of our lives. Cigarette stubs, torn paper, a spoon bent out of shape. I climb the dune. The sand is hot under my feet. I stand at the edge of the beach, waves licking my boots. My reflection in the wet sand is pale, thin, flickering. I lift the helmet. My hands tremble, but I keep lifting. I hold it above my head. For a moment, the stale, salt-stinking air in the helmet mixes with the faint smell of my own hair. I lower it onto my skull, cold. It clamps down like a hand. The strap, which dangles loose, swings up on its own and slaps against my cheek, then settles under my chin. I cannot move. Water trickles down the back of my neck, down my spine. It is ice cold, cutting through the heat. The sea is suddenly louder. I hear the waves as if my ears are underwater. I try to raise my hands to the helmet. They do not respond. My legs move instead. They take one step forward, another. The water reaches my ankles, then my calves. It is colder than it has any right to be in this climate. My heart hammers. I try to shout. No sound comes. The sea reaches my knees. Something brushes against my shin. Not a fish. Fingers. I feel them exploring the fabric of my trousers, the skin beneath. They are curious, not yet cruel. I want to run. I walk forward. The water reaches my thighs, then my waist. The helmet grows heavier, or the sea grows taller. I am not sure. In the roar, I hear voices, not outside. Inside the helmet. They are close, whispering in my ears. Some I recognize. Watanabe's dry rasp. Tanaka's steady baritone. Fujita's nervous lilt. Nakamura's clipped syllables. Ito's cynical drawl. Their words, however, are not Japanese. The consonants stick and slip like wet stones. The vowels roll like waves. Behind them, a deeper voice moves. Old, slow, the sound of water filling a cave. It does not speak my name. It does not need to. It knows I am listening. I feel something tug at my feet. Sand slides away, under my soles. The sea is taking the ground. I tilt forward. For a moment, the world turns green. Then something changes. A pressure, like a hand on the back of the helmet, pushes up. I find myself stumbling backward. The water recedes from my chest to my knees, to my ankles, faster than any natural wave. I fall onto my back in the wet sand, the breath knocked from me. The helmet shifts on my head. The strap snaps loose. I rip it off and throw it toward the water, with all the strength I have left. It arcs through the air. For an instant, it hangs against the blank sky. Then it drops, not into the sea, into the sand, at the center of the dark ring. The next wave rolls up to it, stops, withdraws. The helmet stays. I lie there, gasping, staring at it. The voices inside my head recede, like a tide. They do not disappear. They just move farther out. Something wet runs from my nose. I wipe it away. My hand comes away red. I roll onto my side and retch. Nothing comes up. There is nothing left to bring. I crawl back up the beach, on hands and knees. Behind me, the helmet sits in its circle. The sea breathes. It does not reach for me again that day. I do not try to leave the island. There is nowhere to go. The ships on the horizon have forgotten us. The radio is dead. The islanders have vanished, perhaps taken to some other camp, perhaps swallowed by their own gods. The sea remembers us, remembers me. The days blur. The helmet stays where it is. It does not come to the bunker. It does not drip on the floor. It simply waits at the water's edge, in its ring. Sometimes, at night, I lie on the dune and watch it. The waves come up, touch the rim, draw back. They never move it. Once, I see something rise from the water behind it. A shape, tall and bald, shoulders wide, as if an enormous monk is stepping out of the sea. Wikipedia to it reaches toward the helmet. Its fingers are long, jointed, wrong, dripping. When they touch the metal, the shape shudders, as if in pain, and withdraws. The sea does not want to take it back. It wants to give. I understand then, the helmet is not a thing the sea lost. It is a thing the sea made, or claimed, to connect us. A handle, a hook, a doorway. It cannot come all the way onto the land. But it can send this. We can choose to pick it up, or not. The war ends without telling me. I do not know the day the Emperor speaks. No one comes to hand me a paper with surrender terms. One morning, months after the helmet last moved, a small boat appears in the lagoon. It is not Japanese. It is not American. It flies a white flag. There are men in it with uniforms that do not match any I know. Allied, probably. An officer with a clipboard. A translator. They find me sitting by the bunker, sorting through a pile of rusted tin cups. Their faces change as they take in the empty mats, the neat stacks of abandoned gear, the graves behind the pandanus trees. There is a smell in the bunker that makes them cover their noses. The translator, a Japanese from some city I have never seen, asks me questions. Name, unit, how many men, how many died? He looks at the helmet on the peg. That one, he says. Why is it still there, when there are so many others lying around? I say, I do not know. This is not the truth. He notes something on his clipboard. The officer looks at me with a mixture of pity and suspicion. They put me in the boat. As we push off, I look back. The helmet still sits in its ring on the beach. The sea reaches for it and withdraws. The tide pulls us away. I do not return to the island. They send me back to a country I do not recognize, full of ruins and hungry faces. Years pass. I marry, not a woman from my hometown, but someone from a city where the bomb did not fall. We have a child. I work in a warehouse. I pack boxes, load trucks, avoid the smell of salt. I do not talk about the helmet. I dream about it. The waves in my dreams make no sound, only metal, clinking, dripping. Once, in the middle of a heavy rain, I pass a scrapyard near the port. Piles of rusted machinery, twisted beams, the skeletons of ships. On top of one heap, balanced as if placed there deliberately, sits a helmet. Model Kasimbilan Pula. The star is gone. Scraped off or rusted over. Water runs down its sides. For a moment, I cannot move. The rain beats on my shoulders. The street glistens. The odor of the sea is strong. Someone bumps my shoulder, mutters an apology, keeps walking. Cars hiss by. When I look back, the helmet is just one of many. Not special, not dripping. At night though, when the rain has stopped, I hear it. A soft clink. Somewhere in the pipes of the building. Somewhere in the radiator. Somewhere in the old gutter outside the bedroom window. Each time, the sound is the same. A round thing, rolling, coming to rest. Sometimes, I wake and find my pillow damp. Water, I tell myself, only sweat. When my son is 5, he draws a picture. He brings it to me with the solemn pride of children. I look at it. A beach, in his clumsy lines. A strip of water. A circle in the sand. Something round in the center. What is this? I ask. He smiles you, he says. At the sea. With a hat. I ask him who told him that story. He shrugs. The man in the bath, he says. We do not have a bath in the house, only a shower. I start checking the drains more carefully after that. I am old now. My hands shake when I hold chopsticks. My wife's hair has gone gray, then white. The boy has grown up and left to work in an office somewhere near Tokyo. Every few years, I hear about divers finding relics on old battlefields. Helmets, shell casings, bones. Once, I see a photograph in a newspaper. A young American diver, grinning, holds up a rusty Japanese helmet he found on a reef in the Marshalls. The caption talks about history, closure, the relics of war. The helmet strap hangs in a familiar way. Water drips from its rim, caught in the camera's flash. I fold the newspaper. I do not throw it away. The sea is larger than any nation, any war, any god. It does not care about our flags. It only cares about weight and shape and what sinks. Sometimes, at night, when the world is quiet, I put my hand to my ear and listen. Under the faint roar of traffic, under the neighbor's television, under the building's sighs, I hear it, waves, and under the waves, a thin, cold clink, like steel on stone, like a helmet rolling into place. If you want more stories that don't end when the video does, but stay with you the next time you hear water in the walls, stay. There are other outposts, other relics, still waiting to be found. For Sergeant Watanabe, Corporal Tanaka, Privates Fujita, Nakamura, and Ito of the Mili garrison outpost, and for all the men the sea did not return, let this be their marker. 1. https://mestories.org/intro.php UTM_source =chatgpt.com. Introduction to Marshallese culture. Dosen https n Wikipedia or gi. Wiki ato umib. Chelima. Delapan. Zoo. UTM _source equals chat. GPT.com.